Hey, I'm John Daum, a facilitator for First Things First, and I am joined today by Sara, who is going to help parents answer the important question, how are my teens feeling during this COVID-19 quarantine? And before you answer that question, Sara, let me ask you to tell us a little bit about what you do with teens for First Things First.
Yeah, so I am a relationship facilitator, and primarily during the school year, most of my days are spent in a high school teaching them about self awareness and their personalities and really getting to build some relationships with them. And then after we leave, we invite them to this Instagram that we have called Relatable. And on that, from every high school that we go to, teens are invited to keep in touch with us. And I kind of have been building relationships with them on there, especially during COVID-19 and all of the quarantine and everything that's going on, because there's been some evident anxiety that they're feeling. But on a day-to-day basis, I am trying to set them up with some positivity, some things to think about, encouraging them when I see them being creative and posting stuff that they love. So that's really been my role recently with them.
Okay, so you've been in the classroom, in a lot of classrooms with
A lot of
teens,
classrooms, yeah.
and you are connected to them on social media, so you have your finger on the pulse of what teens are feeling during this time. So let me get right to it. What have you seen as far as how teens are managing this time of quarantine and school being online and COVID-19 stress?
Yeah, I think that there's been quite a roller coaster of emotions for them, honestly. At the beginning, I think they're kind of excited that they get to be home. They don't have to get up so early. They don't have to put on dress code clothes, and they can kind of do their own thing, I guess, be their own boss. And then as it started to get longer and more serious, you started to see a lot of students just be like, man, I never thought I would say this, but I miss school. And then posting a picture of them either like rolling their eyes or like, oh, I can't believe it, like face palm or some meme or something along the lines of whoever thought I would say this. And they miss their friends. The teens, I think they're going through a hard time right now. I think they're in the thick of it because now they've gotten the news that school isn't going to go back at all for the rest of the school year, and the friends that they're looking forward to see and hang out with, they might not be able to at all during the summer. It just depends on, what their parents are doing too. So I think that some of the anxiety around like, what is this going to look like? Are my friends going to stick around? Like, were we just friends because we saw each other every day? How can I maintain this if I'm not able to maybe win them over by being the person that has the pack of gum in class? Like the funny little things that you do as a teenager to kind of get your place in the food chain, I guess, if you will.
Right. So what would you say, because I know parents don't always teens don't always express themselves to their parents. They don't always confide in their parents. And frankly, a lot of times, their brain isn't fully developed, so they're having a hard time processing what they're thinking and feeling, let alone talking to their parents about it. So do you have any insights that you can share with parents about, how teens are really managing this and dealing with this?
Yeah, I think it's important to remember that high school years are really formative, and they're doing a lot of developing, whether it's with their relationship skills, how they process. They're hearing lots of different opinions at school, so they're kind of having to decide what they believe in and what they would stand by, even just with group discussions in class, or if you're supposed to raise your hand for an answer, they're challenged to either look at their peer or like stand by what they believe. And at home, when you're surrounded by the same people, I think that it's kind of hard for them to differentiate like what's my opinion versus my family, because it's a constant, just everything's pretty much been the same for them. So I think that it's normal for a student, a teenager, to kind of lash out, give that pushback, because they've been in a setting where they're supposed to ask questions, where they are kind of, I mean, they're being graded off of achievement, and whether they're passing or failing or working harder because of it's something that they enjoy, when you're having to kind of do that yourself. And maybe it's teachers that inspire them. Maybe they really have a good relationship with them as role models, or they really, that's what made them interested in the subject matter. And now you have them trying to navigate how to like self-motivate at an age where, man, you're just hoping that you can get away with pressing snooze once more, you know, and someone's packing your lunch for you, or you don't even have to think about it if you're going to school. And I think there's just a lot of changes. So the angst, I feel, and what I've seen online, it's real and it's there. And if there wasn't an attitude before, no doubt there's one now, but it's natural. They're faced with a lot of conflict, and they're like in a bubble with the conflict. They're not able to express it with their friends or really get to, I guess, experience it fully, because they're having to stay in one place. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. So, you know, you're saying that they might be cut off from the people, whether it's their peers or a coach or a teacher or a guidance counselor, that really helped them kind of navigate the you know, normal, typical teen angst. And now they're cooped up with their parents, who they're kind of, and I don't want to be unfair, but I've dealt with my fair share of teenagers as a parent. They're kind of hardwired to kind of want to rebel and push boundaries, and this has got to be a really hard time for them to be stuck with parents. And there's probably a lot of parents that feel like, what in the world am I supposed to do with my teenager?
What do you take away from a teenager that you're stuck at home? Are you really going to take away something that like keeps them distracted while you're working, or it keeps them from fighting with their younger sibling? You know, go to your room. Well, they've been in their room, you know, the whole time. So I think that there's this dissonance between parents and teens, and where it's normally natural, and like, you know, the core teenager right now, the teen attitude, I think that parents have to have a little bit more grace and patience, and just be like, okay, this is normal. At school, they're faced with conflict. They're faced with people not agreeing with them, maybe with bullies, with having to, I don't know, kind of conform to like what the school standards want you to be in. And now they're like, wait, I have all this freedom and I can do things with it, but I thought I knew what I wanted to do, and I've been thinking about it, but now I'm faced with this dilemma of how to actually get done what I want to get done if it was other people that were helping me do it along the way.
So a lot of the structure and routines that may have been really helpful for them have kind of been removed. And so there's, on the one hand, there's a sense of freedom. You know, I don't have the school's rules and school schedule and school routine, practice after school, club after school, but it's been replaced with, you know, possibly not a lot of structure at home, a lot of time on their hands, and
even some apathy too. They're like, I can finish my schoolwork in 3 hours, you know, when I'm at school normally for 7. So you have the students that are either staying ahead because they like school, that are bored because they get it done so quickly, that are like, well, this probably isn't going to count for anything anyways, I don't care. And then I was messaging with a student, and they were saying how, honestly, I don't feel like I'm going to be a better person after this, because my friends are what made me a better person. Like, they're the ones that pushed me every day or reminded me like what to be happy about or grateful for. So it's a stark contrast. Now, on the other side of that, I have seen so many teens rally for each other. I mean, the posts that they're having, whether it's with art and they've like, oh man, I forgot how much I love to draw or how much I love to paint. I've seen people at the very beginning there's like this little bit of like nervousness that you would see, you know, if you're doing a show and tell or something. And they're like, well, I kind of wanted to post this, but I'm not sure. And now you see all these poems, you see people getting creative with little photo shoots and group hangouts on, you know, FaceTime and Google Meet and all of that. And then you see the students that, at least in Chattanooga and the area that First Things First is, we were hit with a tornado during a pandemic. And a lot of the students were posting like, how can we help? Like, if you were affected, you know, message me. My parents said that I can help deliver meals. And I think the bottom line for teenagers is that they want to figure out what their purpose is, what they're passionate about. And even though a tornado was a really hard thing to happen when you're supposed to be staying 6 feet apart, I think for some of the students, since they didn't have school to kind of give them the place to put their energy and their time to something that they love, they're able to start putting it into their community. And I've seen just the satisfaction that they felt and being able to help somebody else and see that immediately, what that can do for someone, I think has been pretty cool. Now, I know that's not how it's been for every teen, because not everyone has been hit with a natural disaster. But I think that even teens that have been helping their neighbors, like if my cat is rubbing up against the screen right now, so excuse everybody that
It's all good.
a cat tail in here. But I think even teenagers taking out the garbage for the little old lady that lives next door, or helping carry in groceries, or whatever it may be, I think parents are seeing that there's been this increased interest in, okay, what can I do now? You know?
So you're saying, and this is interesting to me. I want to go back to something that you said. They're looking for ways to express themselves, often creatively. They're looking for outlets to express their poetry, express their art, and they're also looking for a sense of purpose. They're looking for something to do, looking for a way to help. Tornado in Chattanooga aside, even before that, were you seeing teens looking for creative outlets to help other people, outlets to feel like they, you know, they had some purpose, they had something to do?
Yeah, I think that teens became pretty heightened in their awareness with, oh wow, like there are people that I go to school with that depended on meals at school. And I'm sitting here in a house that has a full pantry, full refrigerator, freezer. And I just figured out that one of my friends doesn't even know if they're going to have food tomorrow. And so I saw a couple of students specifically work together with their parents, which I think was a really cool bonding experience for them coming together, and just post about how they can help out their peers. Because I think that's really where they're hurting, is they miss their friends. They want to be able to care for them. And something with meals and volunteering, there's like at the food bank, and there's been different opportunities. I really think that this has been, correct me if I'm wrong, but kind of nationwide, they've been doing like school bus delivery for
Right.
meals. And I've seen students post about volunteering, obviously with their parents because of the, you know, age requirements and whatnot, but they wanted a purpose.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't volunteering, it was people reposting what their friends had been creating. And maybe with their, you see some theater kids that are posting little snippet videos of a monologue, or singing something from their favorite musical, or trying out new dance moves, and you see their friends hyping them up with tons of emojis and lots of blowing it up with comments and just being like, yes, post more of this, like you're amazing. And you know, I don't know whether or not that kind of support would have been inspired despite something like this happening, not because their friends didn't care, but because there wasn't really a need for it. Because if you're seeing someone in person, then you can just tell them there. But this, it's cool because they'll be able to go back to it and look and see, okay, like they were with me. And I think that you're going to start seeing, if not already, teens will start figuring out who their real friends are through this too, like who sticks with them, who's just a virtual friend. I think it's going to be quite a learning experience for everybody. I mean, even as an adult, I got married in the last year, and I'm seeing what friends I'm staying in contact with, who I'm going out of the way to have little virtual hangouts with, and it's been really good to see that community beside you.
So parents can be encouraging their teen, to find outlets to express themselves, to find outlets to maybe be creative, to find outlets to maybe help other people, encourage
Yeah.
other people. And it's not all negative. There's a lot of positives that you've seen come from teens during this time.
There's a lot of positive. I think the biggest thing for parents is if they see a positive behavior or see something that they're doing, that a student's doing well, point it out. Don't make such a big deal about it. A kid doesn't want to feel like you're the one that planted the idea. They want to feel like it was their own. So you got to be kind of sneaky in your questions of, hey, when did you become interested in this? I had no idea you're so good at that. That must not have come from my genes. Kind of let them feel like, oh, okay, so I've done this myself. I've figured this out for myself. This sense of like ownership.
Right.
So I think parents encourage the good behavior, whether that's even being nice to your sibling or taking their plate to the dishwasher. I mean, the littlest things. I think human nature is to appreciate affirmations and encouragement. But I think it's really important for teenagers to get that, and from a place of authority, especially a place of authority that they're spending 24/7 with.
Right.
They don't just want to be nagged and be like, why haven't you cleaned your room? Why haven't you done this? When are you going to do that? Did you talk to your teachers? Like, all of those questions can feel very overwhelming. So I think you got to kind of put a little bit of patience with some of the responsibility. And of course you need structure, and they've got to be held accountable for their actions. But I think in this uncertain time, from what I've seen and what I've read them post, they're hungry for someone to just encourage where they're at, and that they're actually doing something that's right, and they're not just being a stupid teenager.
So parents can encourage the positive things that they do see their teens doing and engaging in, and the ways that they're expressing themselves, and make sure that they're kind of reinforcing the positive things that they see, and not just be that parental figure that is pointing out everything that you're doing wrong and pointing out, did you get your schoolwork done? Did you get your chores done? But make sure there's a balance between that structure and also affirmation and encouragement.
Yeah, and I would say too, encouraging them to hang out with their friends over whatever platform it is that they use, whether it's FaceTime or WhatsApp or house party. Teens need this human to human interaction. I mean, it's so important for their energy, for them, for their processing. They need to be in conversation with people that are their age, that might think a little bit differently, or maybe even think the same and share some of the same passions or values as them. And they just need to have fun. They need to laugh. It's so good for you to do that. It's good for anybody. It produces all the different happy chemicals in your head,
Right.
when you're just being able to relax, and it helps reduce stress. And in a time that's obviously been very stressful, hanging out with your friends, if you can do it virtually, and encouraging that. I know as a teenager, I would have loved if my mom was like, you know what, you should stay up until 1 a.m. and talk with your girls, like do a virtual sleepover. I would have been like, yeah, like that's a great idea.
Yeah, I think sometimes parents, and I'm guilty of this myself, I think sometimes we underestimate the impact that we have in our teens' lives, and it's easy to play into that kind of caricature of the rebellious teenager, the angsty teenager. And I've really been surprised with my own kids that they've been down for game night. They've been down for movie night.
Yeah.
I've expected them to push back or say no. And sometimes they're the ones that are like, hey, are we having game night tonight? Hey, can we watch a movie tonight? So parents really need to make sure they don't underestimate the impact that they have on their teens, and also just underestimate their teens
How
who,
much they love you.
yeah, you know, they may be much more open to spending time with the family than you think they are, mom or dad. And you just suggesting a virtual sleepover, you suggesting a game night, or let's play some Uno, you know, don't miss out on those things and just assume that your teenager won't be interested in that. In fact, maybe before the quarantine, maybe they weren't.
Right.
But now they might, you know, they might be really hungry for that. And so don't be bashful, mom and dad.
Yeah, and I would say if you're going out on a walk, like mom and dad going out and gonna take a stroll, just invite them. Whether or not they come is up to them. But I was reading an article, and just the fact that the parent asked every time, it was communicating, I want you with me. Like
Right.
I'm glad that we're in this together. And maybe the kid went on the walk eventually, maybe he didn't, but what the parent was communicating is that I see you. You're not just some other person living in the house. I want to be around you. And I think we all kind of want that validation, that we're not just a burden and we're not just someone that's getting in the way of getting work done or a distraction, or it would be so much easier if, you know, they weren't there. Because those are the things, teenagers are so insecure.
Right.
And those are the kind of things that could just really breed a lot of negative self-talk, and they don't need any more pressure. Social media puts enough pressure on comparison and making them feel like they're not as good as the person that they scroll to see next. So I think just reminding them of that, inviting them to do those things. And I'm not surprised that your teenagers have jumped in on it. They want to have fun after all. And if they know that, you have 5 kids. So if they know that 3 of them are downstairs, I would be remiss if the other 2 weren't like, well, maybe we should go see what's going on.
Right.
You know?
So parents, don't underestimate the impact that your words and your encouragement have with your teenager. And don't forget, there's a lot of positive things that are coming out of this. A lot of teens are looking for routines and traditions and connection, and they're looking for ways to express themselves and be creative, to connect with their friends, and to have a sense of purpose, and to feel like they can help, they have an outlet to help other people. So don't underestimate them, mom and dad, and don't underestimate yourself.
Yeah. Just remind them that they matter and that they were essential before this, during this, and they will be after this. I think that's a point to drive home for them.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sarah, for your time and your insights into teenagers today. This has been really helpful and really illuminating. Parents, don't forget, you can go to firstthings.org and find more parenting resources. You can also check us out on Facebook at First Things First, and on Instagram at First Things Family. And we've got all kinds of resources to help you navigate life with a teenager.
And if you have a teenager, can I throw this in there? Have them follow our Instagram, Relatable FTF. So that's relatable, first things first. So relatable at relatable FTF. And your teenagers can get plugged into the positivity, the tips and tricks that we are posting daily.
Awesome. Thank you for the reminder, Sarah. Appreciate your time.
I enjoyed it.